don't ever want somebody to ask you a question and you go totally left field, but you can control your narrative. And it starts from the very beginning when you probably get the generic, tell me about yourself or give me a summary or whatever that first like crappy warm up question is. You can control that interview more than you think. Hey, Nicole, what do you get when a former corporate CEO and a do-gooding executive walk into a recording studio?
Well, Erin, nothing, because the two of us are usually on my couch or Zoom because wine.
You get a podcast created for Gen X women who are bought into the corporate world, but fed up with the BS.
I know. It's how to thrive the 9 to 5 or 6 or 7.
It's career therapy. It's comedy. It's definitely full on authenticity. Basically, we give you tangible strategies to rise in your career without compromising everything else.
Because work doesn't have to suck.
Okay, that looks a lot better without the blur. Rachel would be happy. We've unblurred Nicole in the event that we hit YouTube.
We did unblur me. Like I'm having like a moment of panic because like 1, I am not put together today because I've been sick. And 2, like you can see my entire life in the background. I want to point to the hard hat right there and like the knife set below it. Random knife set, of course. I mean, everyone needs a backup knife set in their study because that's what I do. It is my favorite knife set, I will say that. And there's like a Golden Girls bobblehead doll back there of Sophia because she's my chosen Golden Girl.
She's your doppelganger.
Yeah, like picture it, Sicily, 1912.
The hard hat. One of my favorite pictures ever of you is, where were you? You were somewhere,
Spain,
maybe Spain, and if you are new to the podcast, you don't know this. If you're not, you do. Like Nicole, her number one for sort of distinctive trait physically is her hair. It's very voluminous. It's beautiful. It's curly.
It's its own zip code. It's its
own zip code. So picture that with a hard hat, and she's doing. And it's not like if you saw me in a hard hat, I have to admit it'd be like a photo opportunity. That hard hat would have been off so fast. But Nicole doing her humanitarian work, she literally was wearing it functionally for.
I was crushing that hard hat, and of course, like I look like Krusty the Clown with like the hair coming out of it. Like it's not a good look on me. So if I'm walking around in a hard hat, it has to be for like a good reason because it's not a fashion statement. It's definitely not a photo opportunity for me. I'm one of those people like cuts the top off of hats so I can like, wear it all like a visor. I learned this trick from my mother and then have like the big hair come out on top. Like,
you 50% rule your hats.
Totally. That is a Lakata skill trait. Like if I ever said, oh, my mom gave me fashion advice, it would be that like never flatten your hair. This is why I've never seen my mother with wet hair.
You need to give this advice to, I'm a big sports ball girl, and it always drives me crazy when it's women, but the men, when the men's basketball NCAA, if they win a tournament or if they go into the Final Four, if they win, they give them, they give them T-shirts and hats. And hair these days on most men sort of rivals yours, right? Like you've got the big dreadlocks or you've got the big poofy hair. And it's so awkward because they get these hats and then like you see them for the next 20 minutes, like trying to adjust and keep them on. And I'm like, can we just stop giving them fucking hats?
Or like balancing them in a weird way. I remember that it was like a whole discussion on how to put my graduation cap on in graduate school because I kind of had this like frontal piece going on. I really didn't want to flatten it. And those mortar boards are really, really for people like me. Small head, small features, big hair doesn't work.
None of that works.
My mother and I had a whole discussion. It was slightly tilted and, back a little bit, but same thing. Like, I mean, we need appropriate headgear to appreciate the style statement that is hair or not hair. Thank you very much. Hard hat.
I love it.
Rachel, be proud. This is a big step.
Yes, you would. We haven't seen each other in forever.
I know. You've been busy.
Talk that much. Like our texting is down. I'm surprised that my phone, your phone gives you stats on how much. I know you're sick.
Sorry.
Yeah, sorry, listeners. We'll kick her off.
I'll try to mute, but I have drugs. Not the good ones.
But I'm surprised, how your iPhone gives you your activity if it's been up. I'm surprised there isn't that AI hasn't come through and it's not specific to like, you haven't texted Nicole in a while. Is she okay? Is she dead? Like, why is the activity down?
I mean, let's be fair. You have been doing exciting things, and I would like to hear about them. Because I have not heard really much about the work/life trip that was Whistler. And I know there's quite a bit going on with the book. Except I put in my vote for which cover I like, even though I am vacillating between two choices.
I think
But
you vacillated between the two I like best too, but you didn't pick the one because we have
1 and 4. 1 and 4. I've
yeah.
definitely
So we picked one.
Okay.
And by
that.
we, I mean me, because ultimately the votes across 4 different covers. And if you are like, I don't even know what she's talking about, well, that's your fault. Follow me on
You need
Instagram.
to get on our
Sorry.
Facebook page or LinkedIn.
Or the Facebook page. Yeah, it was all the places.
Then
So
your vote counts.
your vote totally doesn't count. No, it was good to get people's perspective. I learned this with You Do You-ish. When I went out, I think I only did 2, maybe 3 covers with my first book. And I thought, oh, like this is going to determine which cover and it's going to be clear.
Right.
And then I learned like the law of large numbers also applies to book cover voting because it was like a third. And this one was like a quarter.
But everything kind of like goes to some sort of median. It's funny you say that.
And people can be really convicted. Like if you, the first time I did it, I at first, this is what the 50% rule tries to get you away from, like getting so drawn into like other people's opinions. Cause at first you're just like, some of them, it's like you just entered their debate class and they're like, no, you want this one because it did. And then you're like, oh my God, like that's so convincing. And they're going to hate me because I don't think I'm going to pick this one. But the funniest part of it all was my daughter's still pissed at me because I had shown her actually covers when we were in Whistler because I got my first one and she had given feedback, so I brought her into it. And Ella, like Mick is my little guy. He gets involved. Ella normally doesn't give 2 shits about most people, especially her mother. I mean, she's not a bad girl, but she's just that's just
she's
Ella.
A teenager.
Yeah. So when I showed her these options and then put it on, she's on Instagram and she got my Instagram story. She translated voting to like, I'm going to pick what Ella's going to pick because despite 150 plus people voting across platforms, she was pissed because the one she picked, by the way, was the one that was least picked, which it was not by much. And she's like, no, it needs to be 2. And I was like, I'm sorry, it's not going to be 2. But I told her, I said, well, I want 50% of your opinion. She did come back and give some advice on the way rule was written and my name is written. She's like, it looks too much like a font and needs to look messier. It needs to look more authentic. And so that was really good advice. So when I went back to her and asked her, they redid it on the one I'd selected. And I said, how do you like this? And she was just like, no, I picked like 2 has to be the, so we're going through that. But
there was no compromise there.
No.
But it's like, look, this is like the Bridgeport elections. Like we tell you your vote counts, but in the end, the powers that be just decide what they want to do. Welcome to Connecticut politics. If you're not aware,
welcome to a quote unquote democracy. There's special rules to my democracy. At the end of the day, there was no right answer. And as author, I just wanted to picture walking into a room. Which one would I be most excited? Right. Which one? And also, I'm the only one that knows the total book and what's in it and the vibe of it. And the one I picked, yes, cerebrally, a couple of them might sort of demonstrate the rule better, in the way, but they just don't match the vibe. I have a new editor at the publisher that I think came in about a month and a half ago. We just like totally click, totally jive. We have been just jamming. So we finished all the edits on the manuscript. So that was, 3 or 4 rounds of back and forth and copy editing and structural editing and healthy debate on some bigger items, certain sections, certain chapters. Anybody that's gone through the process, they know it's a really tough process because it's a lot of work, but it's also emotionally, like to get something you worked on so hard to then all of a sudden see all these red lines. But I think
these are your words and
you're like, is it all shit?
Words, right?
But it's not. Like the first time, that's how I felt. I had to go through this sort of exorcism or whatever process, the grieving process or ego tampering process or something. But this one, I was more like, oh my God, it's so great to have basically free help to make my book be better. So so it's really good. We're also going strong on the tailgate book tour.
That's
So
gonna say, I can't wait to tell you the shit out of this.
named by Nicole, largely named by Nicole, the rampantly I don't even know it off the top of my head. What is it? The rampantly extravagant, ridiculously authentic tailgate book tour.
Yes, I think
Yeah.
that's it.
I was ideating and I was like, what ridiculous words? And you're like, in true Nicole fashion, you're like 2.2 seconds. You write back the most ridiculous.
I can't wait. I'm going to be there with the fucking pom-poms, you know?
Yeah, we're excited. So we've got UConn lined up, and funny enough, we're going to do a UConn event, sponsored event at a brewery here in Connecticut. And Megan's helping me plan, who's a friend of ours. So the 50% rule, first of all, is a super simple rule that says anytime you do something new, learn advice, trying to get ahead, only do 50% of what's normal or what people tell you to do. And then throw out the other half and curate your own ideas and new ways of doing things. And so a super simple rule. Obviously, that's not enough to write a book about. The book, what happened was I started using it. I've used it for years and years. And then people loved it. And then I started to see it everywhere in terms of success. So I saw, whether it was Hamilton or Weird Al Yankovic or Shopify or all these companies, people who 50% ruled things. They just didn't know what it was and had this great success. So the book's really, it's fun. It's a fun journey. It's a vibe. It's super snarky and metaphorically ridiculous. Tough love coaching, like my first book. I love the stories. So there's, like You Do You-ish, there's a lot of stories, but only about half of them, go figure, about me this time. And the other half are other people's stories, whether they're commonplace or, well-known. I mean, I tell a ton of stories. So anyway, that's the rule. And so in order to stick with that theme, we didn't want to do a book tour normal, i.e. I didn't want to do a book tour normal because
those are terrible.
Those are terrible and it's work. And you just have to do good. You have to outwork everybody else. And
and they're like not necessarily fun.
So we've got a couple planned. UConn, we're going to do it at a brewery. And Megan, our friend, but also my hired hand for event planning. And I don't mean that in a mean way. Like literally I hired her and paying her to help me because she's so good at it. One of her ideas, I'm so stupid, down the road, the town next door at East Hampton, we have a new brewery, which I knew, but never been to it. Manny's been there once. You know what it's called? The Rule of Three.
No, come on.
And their beers, they have different
Get out
with the word rule in it.
Oh, come on.
We're hoping
this
maybe
is planning itself.
I know. Well, that's what happens when you do things differently. That's the whole thing with the rule. It's magical. As soon as you sidestep a little bit, like everything else starts to lock into place. So we're going to do some research on Sunday, Meg and I.
Come on.
The brewery and
check it out. Research out the brewery. You're going to be like,
we're going to have some beers. We're going to check it out. But wouldn't that be cool if, since we have until October, what if they did a brew called the 50% rule?
That'd be so great. That would be so great. I'm sure there could be some like joint promotion out of this. I mean,
right? Well, they're new. And they're new.
Everybody stands to benefit.
What crowded market,
right?
Yeah. What a great idea. But we're doing that. We're doing one out in Minnesota. Barb Flitch, who's a longtime supporter and friend, and it's going to be at a jewelry store. But it's not. It's a totally 50% ruled jewelry store. That's how they've had their success. They have event space that can hold up to like 500 people. We're planning this crazy jewelry tailgate tour event in November.
That seems so Barb. Like I would not have put that together, right? Beer, kind of outdoors, very New Englandy, makes sense. Tailgates goes with like the college tailgate theme. But jewelry, I like this. This is a whole this is totally different.
Yeah, so we've got a lot of fun. We've got a couple other universities. We got one out in Arizona we're planning. So yeah, that's super good. And then, you went on vacation. We came back, I think I reported, and then I went on workcation, as I'm calling it, which...
That looked amazing. It looked absolutely amazing. I don't even ski. And I was like, now I want to ski.
It was incredible. And the message to people, like, I want to, because it's burning inside of me at how inspirational is kind of a lame word, but part of my vision, it wasn't at first, but my selfish vision of like, what do I want my life to be like in sort of the last half, the last quarter, whatever. And I'm like, well, I want it to be speaking because I love to do it and I'll do it till I can't do it anymore. Mm-hmm. And what if I'm speaking and traveling the world on somebody else's dime. So I spoke in Whistler, which is in British Columbia, Canada, western part of Canada, at an event there it's called Ace Tech Leadership. It's startup CEOs in the tech space. And to be totally transparent, they actually don't pay speaker fees. So it's not like the euphoric, normally I don't do any speaking for free anymore unless it's a charity or a good friend. But they do pay the 4 nights hotel at a super amazing hotel, 2 flights, and then ground transportation from Vancouver, which is a big deal. It's about 2.5 hour drive. So we had a driver, and it just happened to fall on the kids' spring break. And so thank you, universe. What a beautiful sign and reward for, going out on a limb and leaving corporate America and starting this crazy venture and being able to go to a place that we would always dream to go. It's the largest ski resort in North America. So it's, but would we have
It's iconic. It is. Absolutely.
It is very iconic. We never would have probably, we would have been on the list.
Right. You would have talked about it and not prioritized it because it's, it's opposite the season when a lot of people do the big stuff. And, we're not from Australia, right? It's not our summer break. So, but what a beautiful trade, right? You made a trade. It had value. It had value to both of you. You were, in a sense, you were paid. Maybe it wasn't, direct compensation in green dollars that you got to decide what to do with it. That is a fair trade you made. I think that's awesome.
Well, and it's just a beautiful like step and like stepping stone to that vision to show. And the reason I'd say this to others is, when you dream and you take a risk and you start to envision what you want to do, both the vocation, but the lifestyle, it will reward. It takes a little while, and then you just have to recognize these little signs, these little deposits into your bank.
Hey, Erin here. Look, I am so happy you're here listening to the Because Work Doesn't Have to Suck podcast. But I'm also guessing that some days it can be tough to get over here, and you may not always have the time to throw in your earbuds for half an hour or an hour. So if you also want career and leadership tips, inspiration, and quite frankly, professional pot stirring, the best bite-sized way to get that from me is to connect on LinkedIn. Almost daily, I share tips, inspiration, and humor to help you, maybe your less than authentic boss too, be more authentic at work. You can find me by searching my name. I'm literally the only Erin Hatzakostas in the world, or at least the online world. So if you can spell it, you can find me. Or we make it easy. You can scroll down to the show notes and click the link there. See you there.
So a friend of mine said something to me the other day that was brilliant. It was in relation to relationships, but I think it's relevant to life itself. And, it's a form of like accountability and ownership, but also like empowerment. After losing a job or a partner or some giant change in your life, like I think a lot of people glom onto the standard, right? They want the next new job or the next new partner or something, right? Because they feel rudderless. And she said, Nicole, what's amazing is that you control the rudder now, right? So you have some big change, right? And you're like looking to be reconnected back to the way that things were before without necessarily realizing that you're the one in control. Like
you don't have to just slip another wooden rudder down the hatch and go.
You don't have to look for someone else to sail your ship. Like you can sail your own ship. Now, hopefully don't crash it into the cove, but you are in control. Like you have ownership, you have accountability to yourself. You also have all the choice in the world. That in part is like one of the things I think that comes out of like amazing change is knowing that you're captaining your own ship. And I think some of us are afraid to be the captain, right? But this is exactly what you're talking about. Like you took a jump, you decided to captain your own ship. Look what's happening. I think I feel slowly very much the same way, which is like I'm watching my life unfold for itself in ways that are completely the opposite of what I expected. Part of it is that I think I've chosen like to experience more and architect less, which has been a huge benefit to me as well. But having control of that rudder in all aspects of my life is amazing. And look what happened. Like you're out there sailing your ship and all of a sudden you land in the biggest ski resort in North America with your family, like doing this amazing shit and having a life experience. Like that wouldn't have happened. That wouldn't have happened if you're tied to your, corporate desk 800 hours a week or whatever. You would have money to do those things, but the opportunity, that money is not necessarily opportunity, right? It's only one aspect of opportunity.
Yeah. I love too, I love what you said. I love metaphors, but I love just this concept that you're right. Something bad happens and we just try to fill that bucket with, to mix metaphors. We try to fill that bucket with the same shit, right?
Same
We're
shit.
Lost
We try
boyfriend,
to
new
rebuild.
boyfriend, lost job, new job, lost whatever, friend, new friend. And like actually the opportunities to fill new buckets are really what we should be thinking about.
Yeah. Different ways. Yep. Absolutely.
Love that.
Yeah. Not just replacement, not just, rebuilding and reconstituting what we had, but actually like literally redesigning something different or totally new path. I mean, it sounds wild, but like the truth is, it's like we're the ones in our own way, right? Like we all have boundaries and barriers and things, but we like when you're in control of your own ship, like be in control of your own ship, right?
I love it. For our longtime listeners, you're like, holy shit, is that Nicole speak? Yeah. Our voices sound the same. And if you're new to the podcast, like if you want to binge rudderless Nicole, go back to what? The first 200?
Yeah. I mean, go back to watch someone who is struggling against like the reality of their own life, which is I have everything I fucking need. And Erin was busy telling me that. Except that the pieces of my puzzle were all mixed up and I was doing shit in a way that was probably not authentic to me, even though I thought it was. It was like doing the things. And I wasn't unsuccessful or terribly unhappy quite the opposite. But it's like now I look at all of those things in my life and I think like, well, I don't need to do that again. I'm not going backwards. Some of that stuff is cool. Miss it, maybe a little. But there's like a whole panoply of stuff ahead of me. Like that's amazing. But also, sometimes I can just do nothing, and that's also awesome. And then things just happen. So much space for activities, as they say in Step Brothers. No, but not to wax philosophical. It is also like nice weather, and the sun is shining till 8 p.m. at night. So, generally speaking, I'm also feeling pretty positive about life. But I think this very much is, taking these opportunities that come to us, and we see value and opportunity in so many different ways, right? And sometimes we have to take those traditional blinders off. I mean, it kind of leads me to think about what I know we're also going to talk about.
Yeah, I was going to say, take off the traditional blinders. I think that's probably going to set into the theme. Should we play? So should we head into, and then if you have a good story, we'll leave it at the end. Yeah. So we have a listener question.
I want to be perfectly honest that like I have been feeling like absolute crap for 2 weeks and I can't, I read, you sent me the question of the day. I read that 5 minutes before jumping on here because we're
going to play it. We're going to play it right. We're going to play it right now for you.
I just don't want you to think
listeners.
that I've thought about it. So you're going to have to all go through the thought process with me. You're welcome.
Well, what's new?
Hello, Erin. What is the best thing you can do to make yourself attractive to potential employers? In other words, what's the number one thing an employer is looking for that's not necessarily part of the job description?
I like that question a lot.
Yeah.
It's definitely open to interpretation. And we're both hiring managers or have been hiring managers. And I think there's a lot of different ways to sort of think about this question.
Yeah. I mean, so I love this question because as you imagine, like, do shit different. And so I have a couple thoughts on this.
Okay.
You want me to go first this time?
You go first. You go first, girl.
And then you riff on that.
Yeah.
So I think there's three things. I think the first is just connection. And no hiring manager is ever going to say this, but they want to feel connected. And that could be good and bad, right? That's part of the reason. And I'll go into each one of these a little bit more, but it could be part of the reason where we have hiring bias and, you tend to, but connection can be, if you know that connection is important, and let's say you're not the carbon copy of the person hiring, then you can make that connection easier. I think the second thing that people don't say and is so important is they want you to totally give a shit about them, their issues, their challenges, what they need to accomplish in this job.
Yes.
So many people go into this and be like, it's a test. I have to get the test right. And it's like, well, kind of it is a test, but you're playing the wrong test. You're,
Oh my
you know,
God.
you're talking about yourself. And the best candidates I've ever had have shown not asked canned questions, like where you can tell they're like, what is your strategy? They have asked thoughtful questions. They have sincere energy, excitement. Like this goes well beyond, I read your website and know what the core values are of this company or the.
And this is why you want me.
Right. No, like they care, and they not just care about the company, but actually care about the individual, because what that individual needs to get done, whether it's for their career, to make their team successful, to, keep their job, to make their boss look good, you have to give a shit. And I'll go back and talk about some tangible things. And then the third thing is they just want different. They will never tell you that, but they want something that's different, that stands out. And I have a few examples to hopefully inspire Terry and the rest of our listeners about that. So like, just not to be super clinical about this, but the first is like connection. I'll tell a quick story. I was prepping for a one-on-one. I have 45 minutes with the CEO of Aetna. This was a 2-step above me meeting, and 45 minutes to a deep dive into my business. Like this never happened. Right. And so, but I, going into it, I remember putting on the agenda, but I'm like, I don't really need to talk to Carolyn about this. I've got this. Like, I know I want to talk about A, B, and C. I've got my deck, right? The normal. And I went through all of that, and I'll never forget her saying, what if your number one goal is simply to connect? And I was like, oh shit. And when I thought about that, for the surface level connection is, okay, we're both from Michigan. I like talk about that, or, connect about sports, or connect about whatever we have in common. But that's not what she meant. And when you have this mindset that it's about the connection, what you inherently have to do is think, what is important to them? So that example,
it's not about you entirely. Yeah.
No. And you need to know where they are. So we were actually in the midst of the acquisition of CVS Health of Aetna, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so first of all, where is his head at? Nothing he cares about more is making sure that deal goes through, right? Like he's got a lot at stake. And second of all, like, what does he care about? I thought about, like, if I were him, I'm sitting in these meetings all the time, getting talked to, propaganda, report. Like, I actually want to use my brain and feel useful, right? Whether it's an idea I have or help them bust down a barrier. I don't want to just sit there and sort of consume information and maybe ask a few questions. Like, I want to feel useful. And these guys don't feel useful very often when they're reporting to people levels below them, because that's not how we treat them. We feel like, oh, we have to prove that we've got it. And so just that change. So just that, like, I purposely planted, like, I said, there's one strategic question that I really want to get your input on. And it was around pricing. It was perfect too, because we were debating it. We could figure it out without him. But also, if he gave me input, I could go back to people and be like, Mark says, so smart for me, right? Like, Mark says we should do X, Y, Z around our pricing.
Use your time well.
Yeah. And then just everything else, I just really created the conversation around what are those things that if I were him and I'm worried about a big deal going forward, and I'm talking to a business unit, it's one of our smallest. What do I care about? A reputation with our big clients and customers, because we had a lot of the same, et cetera, et cetera. So that's number one. If you can say, okay, my goal is to connect, not on a surface level, but to make them trust me. I mean, that's authenticity helps, right? I talk all the time about how authenticity is a fast path to connection and trust. So instead of, again, it's not a test. The first is connection.
Okay.
And then the second one I think is pretty obviously, care about them. Ask them questions not about the company, but about their unit, about their career, about what's the one thing, if it happens next year, you'll be completely thrilled. And it doesn't have to even just be in an interview. Like, you can bring these things to life in a resume. You can show care by, writing a summary that says what your superpower is and how that helps them. Like, instead of saying my objective is to, rise in the ranks to the next level of leadership, to be able to use my skills that I've gathered over the last 20 years. Nobody gives a shit about that when they're hiring.
It sucks.
They just care, what are you going to do for me? And most people, unless they've talked to me and maybe a few other people, really actually think about that and put that in their LinkedIn or their resume. Like, here's what my skills could do to make your life better.
So funny because this doesn't surprise me, but this is exactly what I was going to say. But I'll say it in a slightly different way. Like, literally what you just said was exactly what was on my mind. But I think it's interesting that we're meeting in the same place because we're coming at it from a slightly different perspective. One, I'm very sensitive to the difficulty that is both hiring and finding a job. I have done it many times in my life, and it does not come easy to me. So first of all, I'm incredibly sensitive to it from the worker perspective and from the manager perspective. And I hire a lot of people. I am not necessarily hiring executives, but I'm hiring people across the gamut, like regular average workers. And I was going to say the number one thing is like, I want to get a sense of how you're going to make my life easier. Exactly as you said. But as an average worker or like a regular line worker, a regular person, or even like a skilled worker, the way that they demonstrate that is by showing me that they're a problem solver. When you're talking about every question that we ask in an interview usually has to do with figuring out problems and how you have figured out problems in the past, right? Because the key to job hunting and to hiring is realizing that nobody hires when shit is good. They hire when shit is bad or when they need shit.
Shit is never good, period. So
they need people. They need fucking bodies to do work and they need to do it immediately. So like, demonstrate to me how you've jumped in and solved a problem. It doesn't matter if I'm asking you how you use fucking Microsoft or, how you re-engineer a process. Like, answer the question by showing me there was a problem and you solved it. There was something happened and you did something. That is how somebody jumps off the page and I'm like, this person can jump into a situation. They can diagnose problems. They can problem solve. They clearly can communicate because they're communicating to me right now. And they're probably going to, on the whole, make my life easier once we invest a significant amount of time in getting them up to speed because jobs are hard. We know that. We're not expecting that to happen, unexpectedly. But your guess is they're problem solving, which means they have basic skills. Self-starter, can communicate. Being a problem solver represents so much shit. And the ultimate end goal of that or end result of that is that my life as a manager is easier. That is it.
That transcends jobs. That transcends industry.
Problem solver.
Yeah.
Be a problem solver. But talk about it. Be the person who understands what the questions are asking. They're all asking you.
Or don't even
undo difficult shit.
Well, and when you say understand what the questions are asking, I think that's also a subplot to all of this, that people think the reason you're getting asked questions and the reason you're probably getting shitty questions is because you've let them take over and you think that this is a one-way street. The reality is most people interviewing, hiring are crappy at it because they don't have time to prepare. They don't do it all the time, right?
Or it's a process that's dictated by
exactly the process is
or another entity. Yep.
Yes, to make sure it's fair or whatever. You have to do it. And the reality is, you don't ever want somebody to ask you a question and you go totally left field, but you can control your narrative. And it starts from the very beginning when you probably get the generic, tell me about yourself or give me a summary or whatever that first crappy warm-up question is. You can control that interview more than you think. You don't, again, it's not the only reason it becomes a test is because you let it become a test. And that's no way to get a job. It's, to be back in school.
Hey, Erin here. So I know we talk often about this concept of authenticity as a secret weapon to success. I swear to you, my authenticity was literally the number one thing that helped me become both the CEO of a 9-figure company at the age of 42, but also that helped me lead an insanely successful financial and cultural turnaround of that same company. But I get that authenticity as a secret weapon kind of sounds fluffy, like fluffy unicorn doo-doo. that leaves you wondering, what do I actually wake up tomorrow and do differently without looking stupid or getting fired? This is exactly why I put together the Authenticity Playbook for you. It gives you 10 plays or really thought starters that are simple, actionable things that will help you up your career and leadership game. To get your free Authenticity Playbook, go to beauthenticinc.com/playbook. Again, that's beauthenticinc.com, just the letter B, authenticInc.com/playbook. Or to make it simple, just scroll down to the show notes and we've got you covered with a link there too.
And then the standout, and I'd love to hear more of your thoughts. I know I'm sort of like going at it, but it's such a great question, Terry. First of all, this question came in and not half a day later did I see yet another example on LinkedIn
Right.
where somebody wrote a post super authentically and it went viral. So this guy just lost his job, and I have it up, and he I won't read the whole thing because it's super long. But first of all, he was like, yeah, I was recently laid off, sad and blindsided. A routine Teams message led to a meeting with an unexpected guest, HR. 2 weeks later, my second child was born. So first of all, that was smart. It was a hook, right? Like, how do you not keep reading? See where this goes. And he told a story. And so he goes on to talk about his child and how it was difficult. And you sort of start to think maybe the post is going to be all negative and how hard it is and how shitty, but it isn't. You know, he said, with all that's going on, I'm taking time to work against it. It's a ton to carry, but I carry it. Why? Because it needs carrying. And then it says, so I'm ready to work. What will your company get from me? What's my unique value add? I don't quit. I'm not entitled. I don't make excuses. I'm always creating, always writing. I find solutions to problems. There you go. I don't buckle under pressure. I help make difficult work easier. I mean, yeah, list alone, right? Super
Right there.
Super authentic, uses the first person, doesn't use bullshit buzzwords. I don't buckle under pressure. I help make difficult work easier. And he goes on to say, like, I don't blame HR, and what happened. But, you know, what I can do is even greater work. And he says, I started writing at the age of 14. I turned 37 not long ago. And then he says, customer service, this is what I learned. Marketing, this is what I learned. You know how many? So the post has
I saw that.
over 7,000 likes.
Yep.
Over 600 comments.
Guys gonna get a
And
freaking job.
over 750 reposts. If this guy doesn't have multiple job offers,
Somebody better be like, oh, you're a communications person. You just created a viral LinkedIn post. Please join our company yesterday, because I guarantee all these highly paid communications VPs are not getting that kind of traction.
1,000%. So not only did he demonstrated what he does, and it reminds me of, oh gosh, we'll have to put it in the show notes. Our buddy who did the dancing TikTok that went viral about his resume. I had him on the podcast. I interviewed him about 100 episodes ago. We'll have to link to that, but you know, which was great. But you kind of think, well, yeah, but he used to be a dancer. He's in corporate America, but you're like, I can't dance, or I can't do something that bold. It doesn't even have to be that bold. Like, this guy just wrote from his heart, wrote a story. Yes, you can tell he's a writer. He had a good hook. He wrote eloquently. He wrote authentically. But you've got to stand out. I mean, another one. So I write about this in the book, in the 50% rule. And I gave an example, just like totally off the cuff. So, for example, here's the one I'll just read it right from an excerpt from the book. So it says, you're interviewing for a marketing job where you know you're the underdog. You recently saw an online ad campaign that simply displayed a QR code that took you to an uplifting, funny TikTok video. You also secretly watch the show Let's Make a Deal anytime you're looking for some mind-numbing relief. Rather than going into the interview with your standard resume and rehearsed answers to those cringy behavioral questions, you decide to bring in just one piece of paper with 3 QR codes on it that are labeled door 1, door 2, door 3. When the interviewer is intrigued and can't resist whipping out their phone to scan one of the 3 doors, they're taken to one of 3 TikTok videos with you dancing and text that bullets some details about one of your top 3 qualities. For example, communication, creativity, collaboration. And then I say result, because you combined 2 not so new things, which is part of the 50% rule, and which I'm demonstrating, and delivered them in a totally new environment, you created an unforgettable interview experience. Not to mention, it's for a marketing job. So you demonstrated your marketing genius. They offer you the job before you walk out the door. So how do you step back and think about, first of all, what am I trying to demonstrate? If you're in IT security, how am I trying to demonstrate that I'm going to keep things under lock and key and I'm going to act quickly? If you're in sales, how am I going to demonstrate that I can make the sale, right? Like, what is the job? And then what I love about the book is, I give a bazillion examples. That's why it's worth actually reading a book about a stupid, simple rule of all the ways you can collect and curate two unique ideas, whether they're juxtaposed, or that was an example of two things you just got inspired from two different parts of your world, an ad you saw with QR codes, and let's make a deal with the concept of the three doors. And just say, okay, how can I seek inspiration and 50% roll my interview to make it stand out? That's my advice. Those are the three things: the connection, care what the hell is important to them, and show them what you're going to do to help them. And then stand out while also optimally demonstrating, not just saying what you do so well.
Yeah. And I think my caveat to that is just, the functional advice of, you can do that in an interview or in a resume or something by demonstrating your problem solving ability in some way, that really hones into that. And one of my favorite questions that I often get asked, or maybe don't get asked enough, but I do like, is tell me about some of the biggest challenges you're facing and how you hope that this position will help you achieve success in that area, or will help solve your problems. Like, tell me more about how this role is going to help you. That is a really thoughtful and engaging question. Makes the interviewer think, but it also demonstrates that this person understands that this is, whatever this role is, I don't care if it's, chimney sweep or, head lawyer, they recognize that they have, that there will be a role to play. They're expected to add some value, and we'll give them insight into how the boss thinks, whether or not they actually want to take on these issues, right? Because that's another thing. Like, people are also interviewing the people that are interviewing them. Like, you're trying to figure out whether you want to be a part of this shit show. So, ask questions. You can figure out whether or not you want to be part of this circus. Because if there's anything that's terrible, is like when somebody seems great for a job, and then they get there and they're like, whoa, this isn't what I expected or whatnot. And then they're disappointed, or there's like a mismatch at the end. So it's also really great. This is the time for you to also interview that person, that company, entity, parties, to figure out whether or not these are the problems that you want to have, because they're going to be your problems.
Yeah. Yep. I love that. Well, hopefully that was helpful for Terry. Thank you so much, Terry.
Thanks, Terry. That was a good one.
In the question, we love sort of this new format. And so if you're listening and you're like, I need leadership advice, career advice, whatever, I don't know, we'll make
tailored to
anything, but tailored to you and broadcast to the world. And you can say your name, you can say a pseudonym, you can be totally covert, or you can
have your kids record it. I'm just kidding.
That's right. AI.
Get your minions to work for you. It's fine. We accept all minions.
Expose your children instead. That's so much better. Exploit them.
Yes, please do.
So hopefully this was helpful. I don't know, any last stories on your end? I know I gave an update and we didn't sort of prepare, but any final, Nicole, to end us?
Only that, living the dream, and I'm very much looking forward to celebrating your upcoming milestone birthday.
Oh my God, will you stop? I haven't even seen you for your birthday, and you cannot stop talking about my big ass.
You're going to see me. I'm coming on Greekster.
Oh, that's right. I'm going to see you next week.
Okay. But caveat to that is that I kind of a little bit maybe sort of got roped into co-leading a Girl Scout camping trip. This is not such a great So the little backstory to this is that I have many goddaughters. They're all in Girl Scouts. I was drunk or something, and one of my good friends was like, you should be a troop volunteer. You could come help out for all these fun activities. I'm like, that's a great idea. Then said friend kind of has an issue going on, and she's a very prepared person who has everything totally set. There's lots of lists and activities and all this stuff involved, but she can't necessarily be engaged because of some personal complication. So me and 20 girls might be going to a forest in Connecticut to do some overnight camping. And like my idea of putting up a tent is like wrapping myself like a burrito in it. So I also am not
Saturday. That's Saturday before.
That's the night. Like is literally the night, the 2 nights before I'm coming to your house for Greek Star. So if I don't show up, I'm dead in the forest somewhere in Barkhamsted, Connecticut. But also, I'm just hoping that all these young people survive and everybody is in one piece. And I don't know who's running these activities or overseeing things or how people are getting fed, but like shit might go feral on this Girl Scout camping trip. And I'm going to document all
to
that.
send a camera crew.
This could potentially be a major shit show. I'm also very confused how like all these kind of
Do you have
overland.
to be like massively vetted or anything? I would think for like to run a Girl Scout camp, or they don't give a shit.
I did a background check. I don't have any felonies.
No, you don't.
Hillary is very prepared. The best part is that I saw some of the preparation for this. There's a lot of parental meetings on this. What I'm questioning is, I have no other parents signed up for this. And these very involved, active parents, yes, but and these are very
people,
resourced parents who are basically like, oh, like that random non-mom from New Haven, I'll totally send her into a forest with my 9, 10, 11-year-olds for 3 days. That's fine. Like, I'm going to have some Merlot in my Lululemon pants and like not worry about this. But, you know, they see me at a birthday party and they question my presence there. But please.
So once they can hand the buck to you.
Send them into a forest with me. This is going to be a good time. I hope they have weaponry.
I have a consultant for you. One of my clients who was on the podcast, Jen Shoup, is like Girl Scout extraordinaire.
Yes, I know. I met Jen at the
She Who Wins
Summit.
Yeah. So if you need, she is the
Jen,
master, and she like
you're listening. Just please don't hold me to any standards.
I'll text her and let her know that you might so ask her.
This might be a feral experience for these girls, but you know what? I feel like I'm hoping we get out alive. I'm going to have a call with my friend this week, make sure I understand the expectations. However, whatever those expectations are, we need to half them and then half that again, and then just make sure everybody's alive. These are like 9, 10, 11-year-olds. I don't know what's going to happen. I also have no outdoor skills. I have survival skills that is different than outdoor skills, and there are activities involved. You know what these activities would be? I mean, like, probably going to be some kind of dodgeball involved, like probably weaponry. I don't know, fire making. I'm not sure. It's going to turn into Lord of the Rings. There's no other way.
It's going to be so classic. If I didn't think I had to
I'll
sleep
see you on Sunday. I'll see you on Sunday.
Not to be selfish, but I hope it goes great and you cannot miss, because I don't know when another time it's going to be Cinco de Greaster, because you know it's Cinco de Greaster. It's Cinco de Greaster. It's everything. May 5th is everything. It's Greek Easter and it's Cinco de Mayo. So all appetizers
margaritas
are Mexican themed. Food is Greek themed and dessert is whatever goes. So my husband's family would be very depressed if you weren't there too.
I cannot wait to smash people with red eggs, and then we are probably going to sing some Mexican song. This is going to be amazing. No, I'm going to show. I'm probably going to
bring your sombrero. You've got a sombrero, don't you? Somewhere.
Of course, I have a sombrero.
You have the little mini one.
Sombrero.
You have the mini one.
I have them perfect for camping. I'll be packing that. No, I'm going to show up basically with myself and probably a bottle of tequila, and just be like, and ouzo, and be like, all right, I may not even be fully dressed. I have no idea. I'm probably going to have to escape. So I'll see you when I see you. But I plan to be there.
That's awesome. All right. Well, thanks guys for listening. We'll give you an update on the Girl Scout extravaganza / Cinco de Greaster. And again, if you want to send in a question, just send it to hello@beauthenticinc.com. You can just send a text or, written question first. And if we understand and it fits, we just ask you to do an audio, and we would love to pontificate your question on the podcast. So, thanks for listening.
Hey, it's Erin with a teeny request. If you have ever gotten any value from this podcast and you'd like us to stick around, plus you want it to continue to grow so we can kind of swindle bigger and more knowledgeable guests to join us, and to keep providing you with tangible and inspiring actions you can take to achieve the career and life you deserve, could you please just take 1 minute to leave us a rating and a review? Those reviews go a long way in attracting guests to the show, and candidly, they really make Nicole and I's day. We see you. We really do. So when you have the time and inspiration, we'd love to see a rating and review from you. Thank you.